Ancient Egypt, one of the most famous civilizations of ancient history and probably of all time. But what makes it so spectacular, so extreme? There are many things that come to mind, but as we speed through Egypt's history, learning what is the best of the best, from Akhenaten to Sphinxes, you will understand why Egypt is civilization's the most extreme. Number 10! Number 10 on our list is less cosmetic than it seems. The signature makeup worn by Egyptians, specifically the eyeliner called kohl, was uncommonly useful. Typically, it was worn as a defense against the sun and heat, and certain other makeups showed social status and wealth. The Egyptians had developed a stylish protection purposefully, but to add to the fascination of their makeup, modern scientists have discovered something else that the makeup protects against. Specifically, in the kohl, lead and other chemicals that were in it protected against infections that caused death during the time. The kohl helped keep the ancient Egyptians healthy against infections without them even knowing. During the flooding of the Nile, bacteria would attempt to enter the eye, but the kohl, with its antibacterial qualities, would act as a toxin and destroy it, making ancient Egypt great because they developed a way to protect themselves without even knowing, while also using its known protection to protect against the heat. Number 9! In any society, social classes are a big deal. In ancient Egypt, they could have been seen as a small preview to modern time. Women specifically had rights that they did not have anywhere else, such as the rights to administer their own property, accumulate their own wealth, and retain legal rights. These were not common for women to have at the time. Egyptian women also could trade and go to market, but many were dedicated to the home and families they had. Women could also get remarried when widowed. This was especially typical of young widows to older men. People could also move between the social classes, another unique feature of Egypt. A person, if they could achieve an education, would be able to move up classes. Unlike most societies at the time, Egypt gave you a chance to advance in your education, leading to advance in your social class, showing a more futuristic view of rights and social classes, for the era anyway. Number 8! Anyone with the first grade education knows that the pharaohs were the rulers of Egypt, treated like gods on earth, and with Egypt's strong belief in the afterlife, they wanted their pharaohs to have all the luxuries they once had, going from one world to the next. In a pharaoh's tomb, they had many expensive treasures buried with them, and grave robbers often found it easy to steal from the deceased pharaoh. To make it harder to steal, Egyptians soon began burying their royalty in tombs in a dried-up river valley around Thebes, now known as the Valley of the Kings. It was an innovative solution and proved to work somewhat, as one of the most famous pharaohs, Tutankhamun, had the most complete tomb of treasures ever found at the time. This is in fact what makes King Tut so famous. Another tomb, the tomb of Ramses II's sons, is extensive, full of rooms and pillars, and is still being excavated. It is called KV5. The Valley of the Kings not only shows the Egyptians' innovation, but their dedication to their pharaohs. Even when Egypt went through an economic low, they made sure that their pharaoh was buried safely, albeit in a small tomb. The tombs were not perfect. They could be breached, but they did serve their purpose, as seen in King Tut's tomb's case. Each tomb is like a work of art made masterfully by the ancient Egyptians and showing their dedication and making Egypt a famous civilization. Number 7! Writing and communication are essential to any society of people. The Egyptians developed their own writing system called hieroglyphics, which had remained mysterious to many until the discovery and translation of the Rosetta Stone. Like most early languages, they are either pictures standing for words or symbols standing for letters that when strung together make a sound. However, two symbols together could make many sounds stemming from what was put together, such as the symbols for the mt sound being able to be pronounced met, amat, or mat. But what really made hieroglyphics so special to Egypt was that they were designed to be aesthetically pleasing. They could be read from right to left, left to right, top to bottom, or vice versa, making hieroglyphics all the more mysterious and adding to the mystery of Egypt, making it great as we decipher its texts and mysteries, causing hieroglyphics to earn the number 7 spot in our countdown. Number 6! When one pictures Egypt, you see their physical signature staple, their towering architecture, specifically their temples and statues in the ancient cities. Number 6 on our list once again shows the greatness of Egypt through their dedication. The monuments aren't only big, but they tower over people. Imagine how long it took to build these great feats of architecture. Not to mention, these displays are likely displays of power. Much like in modern times, how we may have the Navy tour the oceans or allow a walk-in of a warboat or plane, any foreigners coming in would see these monuments displaying Egypt's great power, and those foreigners will be able to go home and tell their people of the greatness of Egypt. Ramses II especially seemed to like to build them. Egypt's many wonders lie in their architecture, and their temples and statues are no exception to this. We'll be back after this message. Experience the new tour, Discovery Egypt, Mystery. People are drawn to Egypt because of 2 overlying causes. One is mystery. Discovery Egypt Tour has dedicated a new tour to all the great mysteries of ancient Egypt. See the Valley of the Kings and the Great Sphinx. Go to our museums and learn about papyrus, hieroglyphics, and the haunting yet beautiful, and above all, mysterious religion of ancient Egypt. And no mystery tour is complete without a visit to the pyramids, displaying the epitome of Egypt's mystery. Call 555-4637, 555-GODS for more information and to schedule your tour. Discovery Egypt is not a real tour system. Please do not actually call this number. And we're back with Civilizations the Most Extreme. Number 5! Nowadays, paper is a common white, occasionally brightly colored sheet, but the first paper was a tannish color, and you would never find little blue and red lines to help you write straight. It was called papyrus, and it was made by the Egyptians from a river plant of the same name. In fact, our word for paper directly comes from the word papyrus. Papyrus is thought to be used by at least Egypt's first dynasty and maybe before, and then used till the 11th century. Most of what we find of Egypt's writing is on papyrus, the exceptions being if they are carved or painted on tombs or statues, and the Rosetta Stone. Not to mention, we also have pages of papyrus detailing lives of people in ancient Egypt, not just of scribes, but regular people as well. For most, knew a simplified form of hieroglyphics. The first paper was a change of pace from around the world at the time, whose writing tablets were usually stones. Papyrus was a step towards the future made by Egypt and worthy of the number 5 spot in our countdown. Number 4! In the number 4 spot in our countdown, there is another staple in ancient Egyptian culture, mummification and preservation. Because other civilizations at the time did not believe in the afterlife, they did not feel the need to preserve their corpses in death. The Egyptians had a strong belief in the afterlife, and while their mummification was probably invented by accident, with early Egyptians finding corpses in the desert, preserved in the heat and sand, the Egyptians went on to perfect it. Eventually, they gained their staple of embalming, or treating the body with chemicals and oils to preserve it or prevent decay, along with the removal of the brain from the body by the use of a hook. After the embalming process was done, the body was wrapped to preserve it. The corpses are so well preserved that scientists can even make models of what the pharaohs could have looked like, or at least similar to. Even people who weren't royalty at least got some form of mummification, although a poor kind. This once again shows Egyptians' dedication, but honestly, when it comes to mummies, no one does them like ancient Egypt. But you don't have to worry about them coming to life, though. Number 3! Another architectural staple of ancient Egypt is the Great Sphinx at Giza, whose mystery has drawn many to Egypt and earned the number 3 spot in our countdown. What is so extreme about the Great Sphinx that it adds to Egypt's greatness? In truth, the Sphinx legend adds to Egypt's greatness. Early on, it was legend that the Great Sphinx contained lost treasures of Egypt, including the lost Book of Thoth. However, modern repairs and excavations reveal that this is a falsehood. But if one was to look on the front of it, the Sphinx accounts the tale of Thutmose IV, a pharaoh who was compelled to restore the Great Sphinx by a dream. Despite its rumored treasures to not be there, it's almost as if the Great Sphinx called us to restore it, and to continue repairing and excavating it to see if us modern people are able to discover more of the Sphinx, and perhaps this legend will call people of the future to continue to restore it so that even if anything else of Egypt's greatness fades or is destroyed, perhaps the Sphinx will stand and continue to tell Egypt's tale. Number 2! One might consider it odd to put simply the religion of a civilization as a reason that it makes it great. But the Egyptian religion is truly one of the most famous and one of Egypt's staples. Any of Egypt's defining features stem from their religion. The Egyptian people's lives were entirely centered on it. Their architecture was either devoted to gods and goddesses, or pharaohs, who were considered gods on earth. Not only that, but the Egyptians were devoted and loyal to their religion, carrying out their ceremonies and other practices. The Egyptian people especially despised when one pharaoh, Akhenaten, changed their well-loved polytheistic religion to a monotheistic one. His son, Tutankhamun, immediately changed their religion back once he took the throne. Not to mention the Egyptians had a prominent belief in the afterlife, which the civilization, specifically in Mesopotamia, did not have. The ancient Egyptians even had basically an instruction manual on the afterlife called the Book of the Dead, which talks about things such as the weighing of the heart ceremony, telling of how in their religion ancient Egyptians' hearts were weighed against a feather, and if it was lighter, they were allowed in the underworld ruled by the god Osiris. Not to mention, to this day, the cults of Isis and Osiris still exist. The religion made Egypt great through its uniqueness and long-lasting stories that we still know today, as well as being the sole basis for everything in Egypt. But after that, what could possibly succeed religion as being number 1? Find out next after this message on Civilizations the Most Extreme. Experience the new tour, Discovery Egypt Dedication. People are drawn to Egypt because of 2 overlying causes. One is dedication. Discovery Egypt Tours has dedicated a new tour to all the great feats of ancient Egypt due to the ancient people's dedication. See the Valley of the Kings and the great temples and statues of Egypt. Go to our museums and learn about the religion that the ancient people of Egypt were so dedicated to, and see real mummies preserved because of the Egyptians' dedication to making sure people entered the afterlife. And no dedication tour is complete without a visit to the pyramids, the massive size displaying Egyptian dedication once more. Call 555-4637-555-GOLDS for more information or to schedule your tour. Discovery Egypt is not a real tour system. Please do not actually call this number. And we're back with Civilizations the Most Extreme. Number 1. The answer is another architectural staple. The Egyptians are famous for their great power of wealth to build their towering structures, and most famous of all are the pyramids, specifically the Great Pyramids at Giza. Even the greatest thinkers of our time cannot fathom how a society without working iron tools could have possibly built such massive buildings. Ancient Greeks and Romans alike considered the pyramids wonders of the world. The pyramids that we think of are the ones with the 4 sides that meet at an apex and have a square base. Khufu's Great Pyramid was the first of these true pyramids. Pyramids were considered stairways to heaven and built on the outskirts of cities or in the deserts, once again proving ancient Egyptians' greatness through their dedication specifically to making these structures and to their religion. And this becomes apparent when one takes notice on that the closed geometric shape perhaps is symbolic for protection. Not to mention, the pyramids are also involved in the overlying subject that makes Egypt great: mystery. No one really knows how the pyramids were built. Some people theorize, as most common theory that they were built by dragging blocks from the Nile to the Giza site and onto a ramp. What kind of ramp is another story. Some even believe that aliens helped build the pyramids. The intricate work on each pyramid, used for burial tombs, shows the Egyptians' dedication to their religion and work, and the mystery of them shows that the legends that draw us to Egypt, making it great. Combining both of these factors, as well as the pyramids being a main Egyptian trademark, they certainly deserve to be number one on why Egypt is civilization's the most extreme. The Egyptians had many reasons of why they were great, and as you've seen from Akhenaten to Sphinxes, there are many reasons why it is great. But they all lead into two overlying reasons: mystery and dedication. The mystery will always keep us coming back. It is human nature to want to know more, and there are so many questions to ask about Egypt. Does the Sphinx have more to it? Where did the Egyptians get the idea to make a plant into paper? How were the pyramids built? Questions are answered but still pile up with each new discovery of Egypt's history. And without their dedication, nothing would be there. The Egyptians were very dedicated people to their lives, family, religion, and much more. The pharaoh Hatshepsut has an obelisk at Karnak with an inscription that reads, "I swear as Re loves me, as my father Amun favors me, as my nostrils are filled with the satisfying life, as I wear the white crown, as I appear in the red crown, as I rule this land like the son of Isis." She was heavily dedicated to ruling her country, and she was proud of it, as she stated of how she was ready to do her duties honorably as pharaoh in the inscription. She and her son were early New Kingdom pharaohs who brought glory to Egypt through their dedication to bringing wealth through trade and war. All pharaohs had to at least love their kingdom for it to become great. The dedication of their people is a high and accomplished standard, and soon, like Egypt, they have a wonderful legacy full of mystery. That is why Egypt is civilization's the most extreme.